Namaskar and welcome. India has been able to handle the COVID 19 pandemic reasonably well. And the big success story for India's handling of the COVID 19 pandemic has been the vaccine success story, which sometimes I call the vaccine yarn. We've heard about Gaganyaan, Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, but vaccine yarn is really something which has made India very proud. And I have with me Dr. Krishna Ella, the chairman of Bharat Biotech, the company which gave us our indigenous COVID 19 vaccine, Covaxin. And for open disclosure, I had Covaxin and I survived the COVID 19 pandemic thanks to Covaxin, AIMS, and yoga. You're happy with the nasal vaccine?
I'm happy, but what I'm saying is I'm really happy, but I think there's no demand right now for a vaccine. So we have to see how it is going to span out. It's not that we want people to be sick. Okay, I'm happy. Country is free from the COVID. It's not that I'm a businessman trying to make money. No, it's not my game. But I'm happy the country is free from the issues right now, and we don't sell. Doesn't matter for us, but we have a ready vaccine. Suppose a new variant comes, I can plug in with that one and immediately launch in 45 days a new nasal with protecting against the new variant also. I can do that. So the platform gives that flexibility to do it quickly.
So, this is Dr. Ella with the heart in the right place and not the businessman, Dr. Ella. Is that right?
I'm a science. I'm a science, and I want India to be innovative. And I'm a passionate about science. I mean, a Covaxin has shown, a 7 or 8 Lancet publication, 3 Nature publication, and all a lot of eye science, clinical infectious disease, Journal of Infectious Disease, the best of the journal in the world. We published. It's shown that India can do a good science and good clinical trial.
Now, let's shift a little gear and come back to Covaxin, the vaccine which I had as my dose. Mr. Modi was number one and I was number 13 on the same day. Uh, how has been the journey of making Covaxin and then taking it through and now giving crores of doses to Indians and others?
Covaxin, we had initial production problem. But what I'm really grateful to the citizens of this country, many citizens of this country doesn't believe in Indian innovation. They're always suspicious about India, in Indian product. They always believe some coming from other part of the world, they believe the product. Okay, this is the first time I've seen in the country where there's a longer queue for Covaxin compared to other one. I think that's a significant impact. That means Indians started believing that Indian innovation is also there. And also, at the same time, we've been more scrutinized by everybody in all negative and positive both directions. We've been critiqued much more in depth. It helped, in a way, to answer a lot of citizens' questions. And I think I'm grateful to the citizens of this country that believing in Indian innovation is important because we are much more scrutinized than anybody else in the world.
But like you said, it helps. The scrutiny helps if your science and your product is solid, like you suggest for Covaxin. Scrutiny didn't do you anything which was wrong except putting your blood pressure high at or sometimes I'm sure that would have happened.
No, we are open for the scrutiny, but too early commenting on the future. Okay, we are finishing the trial, but then questioning us a lot of things in the big words. That is not there. This is not there. They don't have patience. Some of the publications we published in Medrix and Biorix and all that before this thing, somebody gets into TV channel. Oh, it has not been published. When we put Medrix or Biorix publication, and then it goes for review, peer review. Then somebody else says, oh, it is still not peer reviewed. So you sort of, these are all negative comments. People are willing to comment on us, why this, something negative. They were looking at us always negatively. And that was not good. Okay? They say science, it takes time, whether peer-reviewed, non-peer-reviewed, all takes. We put in biotechs because it has to be freely available for the public domain. And then it goes to peer review. It takes time, about 6 to 8 months or 9 months like that. But within the 9 months, they do damage. Oh, that is not there, this is not there. They create a suspicion in the people's mind. Oh, it is not published, it is not peer reviewed, which is not good. I think they should have waited. Everybody takes time and believe in it.
Simultaneously, I must also add, uh, if we didn't have covaxin, things could have been very different for India. Do you kind of agree with that?
I mean, if India never had a vaccine, see, India is like, for example, vaccine has become a nationalistic, unfortunately. But at the same time, look at a nuclear. If you have a nuclear, people are respecting a country. So same thing in vaccine. If you don't have vaccine, you are not going to be respected. Okay. So I think by putting this vaccine, we didn't have to depend on other alternative technologies, other alternative imports. Okay. So that way, India is protected from that aspect of it. And at the same time, we had controlled the price. I was telling some of the people that if the vaccine is sold at, $100 a vaccine, it would have been $1.5 trillion of business of vaccine itself in the country. Right there, $1.5 trillion of vaccine. So I think, and we sold lesser than $3 a dose. And I think it's a great, and, we were able to reach the almost, we sold 65 crores of doses, selling to that level. We had earlier production was not the problem. We would have sold more, almost double. But cell culture based vaccine is the toughest vaccine in the world. Okay? And making a 65 crores doses by a cell culture based vaccine, this makes the largest manufacturers in the world. By using a cell culture, nobody manufactured 65 million, 70 million doses. Nobody made in a short period of time. In a short period of time. Sure. Nobody made it. I think we are probably the only company in the world who made that scale up of a production.
You spoke about how it gave India the confidence, and when we started off, I called it the vaccine yarn. Do you agree with the phraseology that this is truly the India moment, like we had the moon moment for America when they landed on the moon? Giving Covaxin was India's vaccine moment for India in the 21st century?
See, to be frank with you, we are Vijnanyan even before COVID. But nobody recognized us. They thought it's another vaccine. Like, for example, rotavirus vaccine, Rotavac. Today, we are the largest manufacturers in the world. And we are supplying to more than 120 countries through UNICEF and Gavi. And we are the largest manufacturer, the rotavirus vaccine. And typhoid conjugate vaccine, we are the innovator, where Western countries, multinationals have never done that product. We are the first one to do it and done human challenge studies in UK, Oxford, and we have done effectiveness studies in 6-7 countries all over the world. Proven that this vaccine 87 to 89% effective and efficacious compared to in the children's also. And that's the first innovative molecule from India. Nobody has done it, but we didn't get recognition. Okay. At the same time, chikungunya, we were the first one to make a vaccine in 2006. And Zika, nobody was even, CDC was not aware of the Zikas. We were the one predicted in 2014 and worked on that. 2015 July, we filed a patent. 2015 December, there is a Brazil incidence. So we were able to predict the pandemic even ahead of the game. Even COVID, I didn't predict COVID, but December 5th in 2019, there was a meeting in Lalit Ashok Hotel, Lalit Hotel in, not Lalit, Leela Palace Hotel, Carnegie Mellon has organized a meeting in Bangalore on 5th December. I said, if pandemic comes, the Bangalore will be empty. I did tell Cherry Kang, everybody was there in the audience. Vijay Raghavan also was there as sitting in the hall. I did say, if a pandemic comes, we will all escape. Okay, and exactly after 2 months, it has come. Okay, and I think pandemic, you need a strategy. You need to predict some issues in advance and start working. And whether it is infrastructure or facility or a technology or the type of virus that can come, and we should have some strategy. If we have that, I think we can contain.
So Bharat Biotech leading Vigyanyan for India?
I don't say. I think a lot of companies are there in the country. Everyone is contributing, not Bharat alone. I think it's not right to say that. I think all the companies, Indian companies, are putting that Vijnanayan in the India's in the map.
Now, in the journey of Covaxin, there were times when I'm sure you must have felt very sullen and the mood would have not been good in the company. How did you boost the morale of your staff? And how did you get them to make and work in a facility with so much of the SARS-CoV-2 virus around them? And at that time, we didn't even call it SARS-CoV-2.
I mean, we have a simple mission statement in the company that our competitors are infectious disease, not the company, not the country. Okay, always infectious disease is our competitor. We always inject a positive thinking in the company. We don't talk about competitors. We don't talk about other country. Nothing. We talk about the infection, this virus, this disease. How do you solve? How do you work? We morning to evening. We only talk about that. We never bring any other competitions and other things into the picture. So that culture I created right from the beginning in the company, not to talk about others. So I think when in the COVID time, so me and my wife, we used to be in the company till 11, 12 p.m. in the night. We were staying there. It is not that we were doing the work, but it's more of a moral support to the employees that yes, we are there. Anything is happens, I'm right there in 1 minute. Okay, so more of a moral boost. So we were there, and then used to have dinner, coffee with them, you know, and lunch with them. So that's sort of a motivation. Nothing we did. We were not doing any laboratory job or containment, other thing. Nothing we did. But it was more of a moral motivation. So we were there when the war is happening. So we were there along with them until 11, 12 p.m. in the night.
Leading from the front.
I'm not leading in the front, but we were behind the front. My colleagues were doing the front, but we were the behind, and there or anything for fallback, they can fall back on us, and we were there behind. So behind guiding them.
One of your competitors called Covaxin equivalent to water, and you you kind of had a tough time on that. How did you personally manage that?
No, I don't think my colleague. I mean, my competitor. I don't say competitor. My other colleague in another company, maybe by just accidentally said that. Okay. Unfortunately, the media twisted the things, facts in an intelligent manner, and that brought a little bit thing. But otherwise, I don't think he means it actually, to be frank with you. But it was a little distorted by the media and created a rift in the system. But otherwise, we are still friends, and both of us are working for the country and for the public health program of the country.
But you patched up very quickly. How did that patch up happen?
I mean, see, sometime when somebody commits a mistake and they realize we should not bother about it because, see, we are not fighting a war. We are fighting basically a COVID war. So it has to be joint. You can't just war between two of us. If it is there, that's the worst part. So I said, let's all together, let us work together to make country free from the COVID issue. That is a major agenda. So not fighting between two of us, not worth it.
So, how many doses of Covaxin have been produced and how many have been given?
We produced 65 crores, we sold it, but we have another 20 crores bulk lying in our warehouse.
Now that COVID is waning, does that worry you that there is so much lying there? Or does that give you that sense of satisfaction that, boy, I did a good job and this which is lying in the warehouse is is goodness done by me?
I'm least bothered about what is there in the warehouse, honestly. We don't want to sell a vaccine at the cost of somebody's human being, a fear or anything. No, I don't want to do that. But certainly I can say one thing. Third dose of Covaxin is very critical for the people. Two dose creates a hospitalization prevent, but the third dose prevents even the variants. We have seen our publications. We published also. Third dose creates a protection against a variant. So certainly I recommend third dose. Whoever has not taken a third dose, I recommend. I'm not interested beyond that, honestly. So I think they should really look at the third dose as a Covaxin as a strategy.
But some people say, most of us got either Delta or Omicron infections. So that hybrid immunity is good enough to last for a long time. You're a vaccine man. You don't have you came from an agriculture background, but you're now the vaccine man. What is your understanding? Is the hybrid immunity good enough to last for a long time?
Hybrid immunity will not be lost longer with all the people. See, out of 100 people, 5 people may be protected very well, 95% may not be protected. Okay? So you can't interpret the 5 people data interpreting for 100 people. That's not right. So for who is that 95, who is that 50%, we don't know. So therefore, taking a third dose doesn't hurt you and you're done with it. Whether hybrid infection happened, not happened, all that is a differentiating those people, segregating is very difficult. The best is third dose, one dose will not hurt you. We'll just take care of that.
Now, would you personally take the nasal vaccine as your precautionary or booster dose, or would you personally take Covaxin as your precautionary dose? And what would you recommend the Prime Minister to take?
I mean, I'm not authority to recommend a prime minister, the honorable prime minister. I will never do that. I mean, I'm not too small guy. I can't recommend. But certainly, what I've done it, I've taken 3 doses of Covaxin. Honestly, I've taken 1 dose nasal. That's it. Nothing else I've taken.
So you have personally taken the nasal vaccine.
Yes, I did. I personally taken in the clinical trial.
Excellent, and you didn't get a placebo.
I mean, there was a booster dose. Was not a placebo. It was a
Okay.
regular.
And for people who need a choice, would you recommend Covaxin or the nasal vaccine as your dose? Because now it's also available as a heterologous.
If somebody got infected earlier, after 2 dose Covaxin infected, I would recommend a nasal. If not infected yet, I think third dose Covaxin will be a very good.
Are there some people who have not been infected?
I mean, a lot of people are still not infected. For example, I have not been infected yet. My wife is not infected.
Oh,
So, I'm telling the truth actually. So, and in my family, my son was not infected, and I think my grandson was not infected. So, I think at least few people. My mother-in-law got a little infection, but she was 1 day, 2 days fever, but nothing was there.
and I presume you were being tested often enough.
Well, we were doing every 15 days the testing because we were going to the plant.
Yes.
We were going to the plant, so we need to be cautious. So we were testing it.
And you didn't get infected, even though in your plant you had hundreds and thousands of liters of the SARS-CoV-2 virus.
Absolutely not that. Another interesting thing, the people who were working in a containment area, they never got infected. The people working in 1,000 liters fermenters with a live virus, okay, those people were not infected. That's the important news for me. I'm telling you honest, important information. That means my containment is working. Their procedures are working. That's a test for us. When there was no vaccine that time, so they were all working inside the plant, and they never got infected.
That's an amazing piece of information.
30 people, they were working inside the plant in a containment.
And none of them got infected.
After when vaccine, the phase 1 started, we given those production staff first and took care of them. And then, of course, that continues.
But that also shows that, like you said, the standard operating procedures were very stringent and correct. That is what it shows.
Not only that, so we put the adjuvant in this IMDG. It shifts to T cell responses. The only thing what happened in the many people after taking Covaxin, they go on testing in the lab. I have only 10 IgG, 20 IgG. That was a sort of a foolishness because we are trying to shift from IgG to T cell response. So we want to have less IgG, have more T cell response so that memory is present in the body. That was our strategy. And you look at some other technologies, IgG goes up very high, but it drops after 30, 40 days. Again, variant comes and attacks them. Okay, so IgG cannot stay long in the body. T cell is a memory, like a childhood vaccine. You give 3 doses vaccine, lifetime immunity. So that is what we did in Covaxin by putting a IMDG, one particular adjuvant attached to the aluminum hydroxide gel. It makes the T cell response robust.
Now, having done Covaxin, having done the nasal vaccine, now I'm sure being a company which works on vaccines, what else is cooking?
I mean, we're working on so many things. We don't know what realities are that, but certainly we're working on that.
No, what are the other vaccines you're
I
working?
mean, definitely chikungunya, Zika, a lot of other vaccines.
Tuberculosis?
Tuberculosis, we are partnering with Spain, and one of the best laboratory in Spain. They completed phase 1, 2 also already. That's supposed to be one of the best MTB vaccine, probably one of the best in the world. So we are working on that. Let's see what happens.
Now, would you concur that the way India managed its COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Ella, your family and your larger family at Bharat Biotech played an important role in giving India that confidence that both of us are sitting without masks, even as places like China are still struggling.
I think the government initiation at the right time in a systematic vaccination the program in the country with the COVID software and all that, it changed quite a bit impact. Otherwise, we were not ad hoc. Okay, it's available vaccine. Everybody rushing for running for their in black market. They're buying all that. It is happening in other countries, but nothing has happened here. It's a well controlled program, and I think we've done extremely good. I think India is definitely a case study for the world. I think many countries has to look at it, how India could contain better.
So now we're almost 3 years into the pandemic, and the pandemic is becoming more like an endemic, at least in our part of the world. Uh, does Dr. Krishna Ella, when you put your head on the pillow, do you feel good that you contributed?
I mean, every citizen's moral responsibility for a country is to contribute back. Am I right? I mean, the country gives you education, and you're supposed to, whether you're an employee or a scientist or a journalist, all of us contribution is you have to contribute back to the society. Everyone works. You are also contributing to the society at large. What has to be contributed for the country? I think everyone contributes back to the country. I think the most important is timing is important. How do you react that situation, and how do you make it happen? And that's a challenging time. And I think if you achieve that, I think you're successful, and you make it to happen for the country.
Let me press you further. You put your head on the pillow and you sleep well.
I mean, I sleep well. When COVID time, I was not sleeping well. I
That was because maybe you were working hard.
not working hard, stressful in a way. You know, if one employee working with a live virus, if he dies, what will happen to me? I mean, how do I have my conscience thinking about their family? What will happen? How the world will look at it in that matter. So I think we are the only country other than China. We are the only one working on the live virus. Not the other countries are not using live virus. We are the only one. If anything happens, and how it will be, created a news in the country.
So we're over that hill. But now, how do you feel?
No, I mean, I feel this is a start of the country's innovation. Okay, this is a start. Whatever we have done for our business point of view and all that, for a more strategically to position India at a global map, like typhoid conjugate. We want India to be first one in the world to be there. We have done that. But I think now COVID shown that progress can be done. But we understand this timing is important. The type of platform technologies are important for the speed purpose. So I think we learned now. I think we can prepare better for any other pandemic in the future.
And, and you're also a company. So did you lose money in making Covaxin, or did you finally break even or make a profit? How did it end up now 3 years into the pandemic?
No, we made enough turnover and enough profit. I would say that no. But certainly we were the one, we never took any grant from anybody, international or any lower domestic. I mean, no, we have never taken any single money from the foreign agency or any international agencies. And also, we are not taken from the government of India also. So we invested in the originally 700 800 crores in the beginning without facility. I'm telling facility, we invested almost 500 600 crores. That's a separate. we created. But in the clinical trial alone, 5 to 600 crores we invested in the clinical trial. A lot of other indirect costs, other things. But in spite of, we didn't take money from the government of India. Okay, so we did as a scientist. It's my time to pay back to the country, to the public health. And many people think I would have taken a government money. Yes, I mean government was willing to give money, but I said no. This is not the time. Keep talking to the government for money. It looks like a very commercial thinking. I said the country is suffering. Let's do something quickly and move on fast. And that is what we did. And all the clinical trial, everything we have spent money.
So it cost about what, 1,200 crores for the making of Covaxin? How much would be the ballpark figure?
It's very difficult to say that, but clinical trial alone about 600 crores.
No, why I'm asking is because, see, that gives the confidence to not just Bharat Biotech, but to other companies who may want to make vaccines or pharma, that it's not a billion-dollar business, because every time you talk to a multinational, they always say a new vaccine, new molecule costs $1 billion, and most people are kind of rebuffed by that number. So if we know roughly ballpark figure, how much did it cost?
It all depends on the type of virus, type of the clinical trial that you have to do, all that important. For example, rotavirus vaccine. It costed almost 150 to $200 million, all the clinical trial. Because there is efficacy trial to do and effectiveness in a child, small newborn baby. That's a complicated clinical trial. The COVID vaccine is a much easier clinical trial, adults, okay, and then come down to children. So there are differences in the product. So you can't compare one vaccine to another vaccine.
But roughly how much did it? You gave a ballpark number of 600 plus 600.
No, 600 crores is a project we created, 600 crores clinical trial. But we have other indirect costs like utilities, electricity, all that we don't take into consideration when a multi-product is there. So I don't work on a business angle, oh, this is a profit or not profit and all that. I look at it, okay, this is required for the country, can we make it? That's all. If I ask the finance department to work out, they'll only say, why are you working on chikungunya? Why are you working in Zika? There's no revenue, there's no market. Yeah, everybody will say that. Even typhoid conjugate, when we were working, I said, there's no market. WHO doesn't want this vaccine. UNICEF doesn't want this vaccine. Why are you working? I'm a crazy guy. I still worked. Finally, when I worked and shown the efficacy of the trial, efficacy of the data, then UNICEF, SAGE, we had to go to SAGE, WHO, and argue with our science. And I think finally they got convinced, yes, it's an important vaccine. So I had to tell the WHO and UNICEF this is an important vaccine. So we made sure they realized that. And I like that, each one is different. It's not the same. Vaccine is a complex field.
You are now yourself a role model, and children love to hear your story. In your life, who are your role models?
I mean, everybody has got a role models in a life. Certainly, both my mother and my wife both contributed to me significantly, because one, my wife brought me back to India. My mother also brought me back to India, both. And I think my children readjusted to the India. That was also a tough decision when they're grown-up kid to readjust in Indian context. It was not an easy task. They adjusted. They adjusted to the requirement of the country. I think we don't have any regret. I think I'm happy that whatever science I learned in my life, I had to pay back to the country. I paid back.
So, Dr. Ella, a happy man?
I mean, I'm not. I mean, as a scientist, you will never be happy, man. You're always worrying about what is next, what will come. You're always worrying, thinking, if something comes, what will I do? What has to be done? And how do we handle that type of thing? So I don't think scientists will be happy with the money. And no, I don't think so. So scientists will never be happy with money. So you have to be thinking all the time, what can come, what will come, what can change in the country. So like in animal side, I get in the food side. This is all strategic thinking where the barriers will come. Like if you have chicken infected with H5N1, so you will not eat the chicken. So the whole farmers will lose all their income. So I'll be thinking, okay, how do you protect them when that happens? So they have a lumpy skin problem in the country. Already 30% milk dropped. Okay, and that is a significant loss at a grassroots level for a farmer. Sure. Out of 10 liters, 3 liters loss. They're feeding Same amount of feed, same amount of water, everything they're giving, efforts is same, everything is same, and 30% drop. Okay? People doesn't understand at a macro level. But at a bottom level, it's very significant at that level. So I think I'm looking at what that can be done. And I'm looking at a food business. Some of the food, the barriers are coming. And I was talking, a red alert for the both Mexican spices and Indian spices. So the barriers are on the way. Okay, if the barrier comes, how do you rescue that? If the barrier comes, so if the barrier comes on the food business, farmers are the first one to be hit. Not the government, not the consumer. The farmers will be the first one to hit. So how do you protect that? Can we put some technology so that can stop the barrier issues? Okay, phytosanitary, where the microbial going through the spices to the U.S. market. How do you prevent that? So I'm constantly thinking what can be done. It's not to make money, but as a scientist, how I can have intervention in each place.
I remember having seen something or to that effect, or your statement that the word impossible doesn't exist in your dictionary. Is that correct?
I don't think impossible. I mean, impossible. A lot of them are impossible too. I mean, what you drive is sometimes the craziness and stupidity and not knowing to read the balance sheet helps you. See, I don't even know how to read my balance sheet even today. That helps me in a way because I don't read that, so I don't understand the cost benefit and all those issues. One way not knowing is good, so you drive in what you believe in it.
Towards the end, do you think as India is heading towards what Prime Minister Modi calls the Amrit Kal, we are in that Amrit Kal, uh, can India really become the big place where vaccines and drugs and pharma, the world will look for solutions from India?
No, certainly it is possible because the reason young generation of this country is a phenomenal. I mean, it's a really phenomenal. And I think my generation is useless generation, if you ask me truthfully. Okay, so next generation is a very phenomenally intelligent, and they're willing to take a risk. And if you provide some ecosystem, little bit benefit for the ecosystem we can create, and I think they can perform better than me or better than any other people in the world. They can perform. So we need to tinker a little bit ecosystem of that in the country. We do that, I think we are, whatever Honorable Prime Minister says, it will be possible in the country.
So you have a lot of hope in India.
I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope in the young generation.
So that was Dr. Krishna Ella, the vaccine man for India, who gave, I call the vaccine yarn, and he says the Vigyan yarn for India. A lot of hope in the young generation, a lot of hope in India, and that is exactly what we are looking for. India, where a developed India, India which is prosperous, and an India which is healthy. And that is one big goal. And COVID 19, personally, for me as a science journalist who has seen not one, but all pandemics, all breakouts since this plague in Surat in 1990s, COVID 19, India did pretty well. And one of the big contributors was the Covaxin, which came from the stable of Bharat Biotech. And that's a story that needs to be told, and that's a story that needs to be heard loud and clear as we head into the Amrit Kal. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Pallav Bagla from Bhopal. Pleasure speaking to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namaskar, and thanks a lot. Always a pleasure speaking to you. There's so much to learn from your simplicity. Thank you.
Thank you.